Hello, and welcome to Basically Bops, where I review bops and less than bops. Today, we are going to be looking at Kara Jackson's new LP, Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love? But before we get right into it, I'd like to offer a quick disclaimer. Everything said in today's video is my personal opinion. I don't mean to step on anybody's toes here, as music is subjective. You're free to enjoy what you want to enjoy and not enjoy what you don't. But with that being said, this album, it's pretty good. This was my first exposure to the artist. As a matter of fact, I had not heard of Kara Jackson before this LP, which made it really exciting that honestly, it far exceeded my expectations for an album I'd heard just about nothing about. In terms of highlights on the album, I looked to songs like Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love, which is, of course, the namesake of the album itself, and the song Rat. Both of these two songs highlight some of Kara Jackson's strengths. Of course, she offers some incredible vocals across these tracks, but in the song Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love, she discusses the themes of love and loss that are, of course, played through in the album, but she does so in a way that is extremely moving and heart-wrenching. She gets into some very personal stories in her relationships in the past and how she's had to come to terms with the fact that they don't last forever. When listening to this album, this song immediately jumped out to me. It is a longer one at running around 6 minutes, but I highly recommend giving it a listen as I feel that it is extremely impassioned, very moving, and clearly had a lot of work and heart and soul put into it. When we look at the song like Rat, I feel this highlights Kara Jackson's abilities as a storyteller. You're given this sort of played out trope of the main character, referred to as Rat, sort of going through a midlife crisis and moving down to the West Coast as a sort of way to cope with this crisis. Now, this is something we've seen played out in TV shows, movies, and music, but Kara Jackson's approach here I really enjoyed. She talks about how this sort of way of life can be quite self destructive and can lead to the degradation of your life as well as the relationships you have with those around you. And it was this sort of theme that I found really enjoyable to listen to because not only does she paint a very vivid picture of what this character is going through and what he's putting those around him through, but it isn't this sort of played out YOLO sort of rhetoric that I feel like takes up a lot of music nowadays, where it's all about just moving out to the West Coast, having a great time, having a blast, having a party. And while, of course, this isn't to say that those sorts of themes aren't valid, I did find this one really refreshing. Uh, in terms of the rest of the album, of course, with both Rat and Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love, these were both 6, 7 minute songs. And what I did like is that Jackson was able to break up these songs with a lot of shorter songs. So she would have some of the songs in the LP be a lot longer and some be quite short, some running only as long as a minute and a half. I feel like one of the highlights of these shorter songs was actually the last song on the project, Liquor, which I feel wrapped up the album quite nicely in a way that didn't feel too overdone, so to speak. Throughout the album, of course, she had these themes of how love can be destructive, as seen in songs like Dickhead Blues, Therapy, and even Brain. We've seen that Jackson is very aware of the fact that oftentimes love and relationships have been harmful, or at the very least, have ended in a way that have left her feeling uh, empty or angry or just generally unhappy. And in this song, Liquor, she sort of wraps up this notion by saying that she's sick of cures that make her sicker, and this seems to be Jackson rejecting the notion that she needs to find some sort of love in order to be happy, which I think was a great way of wrapping up this album without it seeming too ham fisted. Because the alternative would be, of course, Jackson turning towards this notion that she does need to find love, and that would sort of be flying in the face of some of the themes on this album. And I feel that this 1 minute 30-second song does a great job of sort of putting a nice little bow on this work in a way that is both narratively and musically just a great time to listen to. It's this ability of Jackson to tell this story with the constant themes being sown throughout that I find really valuable, and it makes the whole project very much worth a listen, in my opinion. Now, in terms of some of the lowlights of the album, so to speak, I don't feel as though any of the songs on this album were particularly bad. But that doesn't mean I find the album was perfect. There were some aspects to it that I feel were left almost underdone. When you look at a song like Pawn Shop, I really enjoyed what I got from it, but what I got from it wasn't too much. I feel like there could have been much more done with the themes discussed in Pawn Shop, where uh, Jackson sort of draws an analogy between her and some object found in a pawn shop in when she's looking for love, how she's treated. And I found that this sort of theme was very well done, but could have been expounded upon much, much more, and it did leave me wanting a lot more. In addition, I do feel as though, while of course Jackson is an incredible singer, there were times where it felt a little bit one note. It felt that she could have expressed a little more dynamism in her range. And I feel like the fact that a lot of the background music did sort of blend together, it was all, very guitar focused, slow, strummy beats, which I enjoyed, but might get a little bit old, especially if that's not really your thing. Now, this LP is on the shorter side, being 52 minutes. So, because of the short length, it didn't really play itself out too much, in my personal opinion. Overall, though, I was a fan of this project. I would highly recommend that you all go give it a listen, and it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. I feel as though there were some really powerful and poignant moments, and I enjoyed the theming of the album and the ways these topics were discussed. However, I do feel as though it was a bit one note at times, and I wished that some of the songs were expanded upon a bit more because I felt that there was more to be explored that was left unsaid. But at the end of the day, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you've given the album a listen. And thank you so much for watching. I'd like you all to go smack that subscribe button for me if you'd like to see more reviews of this nature. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day.